Hi, my name is Jewel, and thanks for joining me for this 90-minute Vinyasa yoga practice. Vinyasa yoga uses asanas or postures or positions of the body as we breathe and link them through intentional movement and intentional breath. So we will be starting supine on the ground, laying on the back. We'll have a nice warm up. And then we'll start to build a little bit of heat through the body for sun salutations, standing postures, some balancing postures. And then we'll bring it down to the ground once again to find a nice meditation and some breathing practices at the end. So take a moment and set yourself up on your mat and let your body just start to get a little bit heavy, taking the shape of your mat, kind of like you're made of water, or like a cat, finding relaxation on the floor. I like to teach yoga as a breathing practice, that we just happen to be moving our body through various shapes. We purposefully challenge ourselves on the mat, so then when we're off the mat later in life and we're presented with a challenge, we can keep breathing and keep using our intention, whatever that might be, to get through that challenge. Today's class will be offering a lot of different twisting movements. So I'll be asking you throughout class, when your body is in a twist, if you can find more space and more length, even if you are in a slightly contorted or pretzeled or compromising twisted position. So with that, maybe you start to close the eyes or let the eyes get heavy and readjust yourself just to get 10% more comfortable. Maybe you let a couple of fidgets out, maybe you wiggle the toes, maybe you make a fist with the hands and then release the fingers wide and then let the fingers come to however they land. Maybe the hands are on the body. Maybe the hands are on the floor. Maybe you rock your head side to side, open the mouth to release the jaw. Maybe lift the eyebrows up or down, and then let the eyebrows just relax. And then we'll bring our intention to the space between the eyebrows. This is known as third eye center, an energetic center, or a chakra, a wheel of spinning energy. This third eye chakra is known to manage or oversee all of our energetic centers throughout our body. So maybe you try to gaze in between the eyebrows, underneath your eyelids, and just start picturing a black screen and notice if anything comes up in that screen. Any colors, any patterns, any shapes that start to fill that mind's eye, that third eye center, and just take note of what's happening. This is the manifestation of your consciousness. Let those thoughts, those images, those patterns just float on by without getting attached to them, without following them, without putting meaning towards them. And just let them go, just like watching clouds float along the sky, or just like waves that are created, they are their own entity, and then they fall back into the ocean. Let these thoughts, these images, these patterns just fade away after they come to the forefront. And then ask that screen to calm down, to become black once again, to be empty, and enter this space of nothingness. This space of intuition, a space of inner wisdom. Now look deep inside of yourself and notice what your body might be feeling at this very moment. Not yesterday, not what you perceive tomorrow, but how you landed on your mat. Any body parts that might be talking to you, that might be giving you a little bit of sensation already, perhaps, or any body parts that might be sending you signals that you might need to pay a little attention to them throughout the next 90 minutes. Give those body parts a little acknowledgement that you hear them, that you notice them. And all I ask of you throughout this next 90 minutes is to follow your body's messages. Sometimes it's hard to get your mind to be quiet, to be able to listen to your body, listen to those messages that our nervous system is sending to us. But that is your only responsibility. I will be offering and suggesting many different poses, many different offerings for the body, the breath, and the mind. And if it serves you, take it. If it doesn't serve you, please don't take it. If your body is leading you in a direction that I'm not speaking out loud, let your body go that way. If I say something that your body says, that's interesting, that's curious, I'd like to explore it, I encourage you to explore. We'll go a little bit deeper now and just notice the quality of the breath. Maybe the depth of the breath, maybe where in your body that you are feeling the breath. Maybe that breath today, right now, is coming mostly from your belly. Maybe that breath is coming mostly from the rib cage, in between the belly and the chest. And maybe that breath is mostly in the chest near the collarbones. For the next 3 inhales we take together, we'll try to use all 3 of those parts to find a 3-part breath, starting from the depths of the belly and then letting that air rise to the rib cage, and finally letting that air rise to the chest. If you're doing this practice and it becomes a little too much air, if you're not used to this and you might get a little dizzy, just come back to your normal breathing. But we'll try this 3 times together. We'll let all of our air outside of us on the exhale, and we'll prepare for our 3-part breath. As you inhale, imagine the belly rising like a balloon, blowing up, and invite that air into the rib cage. Let that air rise to let the chest rise, collarbones expand. Hold the breath at the top, and we'll release from the top down, first from the chest, the rib cage, and then the belly. Let's come back to normal breath for a couple moments here. And maybe you'd like to place the hands on the body somewhere, maybe the belly, the rib cage, or the chest. Or maybe both hands spread out so you can get a sense of how the body's moving during this breathing practice. We'll let all of our air out, letting the body settle. And we'll do this 2 times in a row now. Inhaling first from the belly, feeling the belly button rise, then the rib cage, then the chest. And then we'll do the opposite on the exhale. The chest will lower, the rib cage lowers, and then the belly lowers. We'll do this one more time. Inhale, belly, rib cage, and chest. Exhale, chest, rib cage, and belly. If this feels good, continue. Maybe 2 to 4 more rounds. If 3-part breath, Dirga Swasam, is serving you. Otherwise, come back to your normal breath. Whatever feels natural. Just notice the coolness of the inhales and the warmth of the exhales. If you've created any tension in the face, maybe open the mouth again or lift the eyebrows. Maybe you wiggle the toes if that tension's in the feet. Maybe you drop the shoulders away from the ears if you feel tension collected here. And we'll all come back to normal breathing. If you'd like to invite an intention into your practice, you can do so now. Maybe a word, an image, or a person comes to your mind that you'd like to dedicate this practice to. If nothing comes to mind or if too much comes to mind, just do this for yourself. Practice yoga for your physical health, your mental health, maybe your spiritual health. We'll repeat that intention to ourselves, if you chose to take one, 3 times with power, confidence, and emphasis. We'll lock that intention in. And if our mind starts to get chatty, that mental chatter, that chitta vritti finds you throughout class, I invite you to try to drown out that mental chatter, that chitta vritti, with your intention, and maybe with the sound of your breath. We'll plant the feet onto the earth, just like we'd set up for a bridge pose, letting the knees face the ceilings. Feet are parallel to one another, making the shape of an 11. We'll bring the hands towards the side, letting the palms face the ground, and we'll walk the feet in towards the legs. Keep the left foot planted right where it is. We'll extend the right leg up to the sky, like you're stepping on the ceiling. Bend the knee as much as possible and flex the right toes back as if you're trying to balance something on the bottom of your right foot. Option to keep the hands on the ground or interlace the hands behind the right thigh. On the inhales, you'll find length in the spine. And on the exhales, we'll try to straighten that right leg just a bit more to press the heel towards the ceiling. Maybe you start to pull the leg a little closer towards you to invite a little more sensation into that right hamstring. Maybe you start pressing the left foot down into the ground intentionally. Maybe that invites a little more sensation into the leg. Gaze up at the right foot and we'll point and flex the right ankle, letting the toes face the ceiling, then flexing the toes back to your face and just noticing all those little bones and muscles that you see. We'll take big circles, drawing circles with the big toe in one direction, maybe going 25% slower than you already are, noticing any sticky parts in the ankle anywhere, and then reverse those circles. So this was the direction that you intentionally did not go first. So this one might feel stickier. You might find some points that you'd like to hang out, or just notice what's happening, anything that might feel a little crampy. We're just bringing intention to that, bringing ourselves as an observer to the body. We'll start to bend the right leg, place the right ankle over the left knee, find a figure 4 stretch. We can walk that left foot as far out to the bottom of the mat as you'd like, or you can plant the hands on the ground and use the strength of your leg to press the right knee away from you. We're kind of creating this open space between the torso and the legs here. Option to stay here if this feels like a nice stretch on that right hip, or plant the hands, grounding them to the earth. Use the strength of your legs to pull the figure 4 towards the body. Now we're closing that space between the torso and the leg. If this doesn't feel good, you can always place the left foot back on the ground or maybe a block, but wherever you are, we're continuing to press the right knee away from us, maybe giving that right foot a flex to invite a little more sensation into that right hip. Once again, we'll drop the shoulders away from the ears if you feel like it's created some tension. And you'll take 2 full inhales here, maybe even inviting that belly breath back, letting the exhales be a little bit longer than the inhales, or maybe the same amount of time. We'll plant the right foot back on the mat. Bring both hands to your hips respectively. Just notice if maybe one feels a little warmer, or if anything feels different from one side to the other. Again, just playing the role of the observer. And we'll take that little sequence to the opposite side. Right foot will stay planted, left leg will step onto the ceiling. Knee can be as bent as possible, but we're flexing the foot as much as we can, as if we're trying to balance something on the bottom of our foot. Option to keep the arms down, maybe interlace them behind the left thigh. We'll press the right foot into the ground as we attempt to straighten the left leg and pull the leg towards the torso. We're inviting sensation into that hamstring. And it's okay if your legs feel completely different than one another. Pretty possible that you're feeling a little asymmetrical. Gaze up at your foot and we'll start pointing and flexing the left ankle, just noticing what's going on with those little muscles and the little bones. And then we'll take big circles, drawing circles with the big toe in one direction, going super slow, like you're moving through molasses and your foot physically cannot move very fast. We'll take those circles in opposite direction, noticing if it feels any different and not trying to go too fast through those sticky parts. We're staying with that discomfort so we can work through it and acknowledge it instead of ignoring it. We'll start to bend the left knee, place the ankle over right knee, figure 4 position. Walk the right foot out if you'd like some more room, or you can walk the right foot towards the glute if you'd like a little less room and more sensation. Left foot will stay flexed and we'll energetically press the right knee away from us to find a nice stretch and opening sensation in the left back of the hip. Start to relax the shoulders. We'll take a couple of breaths here. And we'll ask ourselves if we'd like to invite the knees into the chest for a closed figure 4, using the strength of your legs to possibly pull the figure 4 close to you, closing that gap between torso and legs. Taking 2 long breaths, relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the fingers and toes. We'll plant both feet back on the ground. We'll take a couple of windshield wipers, letting the knees drop over to one direction and then over to the opposite direction. This is our first mini twist of class. Once again, we'll be taking a lot of twisting movements, engaging the core, just like a puppy is about to jump on you, embracing the torso, getting a feeling for how the spine might be feeling this morning. We'll take the knees back to face the ceiling. We'll set up for our first bridge pose, planting the hands onto the ground, walking the feet towards the glutes, maybe so much that you might be able to touch your heels, but not necessary. We'll roll the shoulders down away from the ears, plant the shoulders onto the earth, maybe so much that the neck is no longer touching the mat underneath you. Let the knees point directly up to the ceiling. Instead of letting them splay out to the sides, we'll press into the hands, press into the heels, and lift the hips up towards the sky. We'll stay for 2 breaths here, finding control as the knees are reaching forward. The head is reaching back as if you're trying to lengthen the neck. The nose is facing the ceiling. Backs of the arms are pressing into the mat. Take 1 more breath, maybe lift the hips another centimeter. On your full exhale, we'll let the torso come down to the mat, hips release to the earth. Invite the right knee into the chest, followed by the left. So we're giving ourselves a little hug here. Take right hand to right leg, left hand to left. We'll open the legs so the shins and the knees are separate. This is our little variation of a happy baby pose. And we'll be here at the end of class. So just take a little mental scan, take a little body scan of how this is feeling. If you'd like to take happy baby, reaching to the outsides of your feet or maybe your big toes, you can do so. But we're just playing the observer, noticing how our hips, inner thighs, and groin are doing so we can compare it to something at the end of class. Take the knees back into the chest, touch, and we'll roll onto either side, pausing in a little fetal position. Press yourself up with the strength of your arms and meet me in a tabletop position. On our hands and knees, Hands will be somewhere underneath the shoulders, knees will be somewhere underneath the hips. We'll take our cat-cows to start moving our spine. As you inhale, let the belly drop, tailbone sticks up, gaze up at the ceiling. Spread the fingers wide as you exhale. Let the mid-back arch up to the ceiling, gaze at the navel, letting the fingers press into the earth. Inhale, belly drops, gaze up at the ceiling, tailbone reaches high. Exhale, press into the hands, let the mid-back raise up to the ceiling, gaze underneath you towards the navel. So please continue these movements. Let your breath start to guide you, and let your body start to guide you in any variations you'd like to take. Maybe you bend the elbows as the chest reaches down. Maybe you wiggle the toes or tap out the toes on the earth. Maybe you start adding movements of the neck, side to side or in circles. And we'll continue this for a while here. Instead of using the muscles, instead of following cues of where to move your body, can you start letting your breath guide you into various postures, into various shapes? Whether we're still in tabletop does not matter, but this is organic movement that your body is taking you through. So take 3 more breaths and let the inhales move you and let the exhales move you. Maybe letting out a sigh, moving in any way that feels just good and natural. We'll find a neutral tabletop position whenever you're ready, and we'll spread the fingers out wide. We'll take a couple of wrist stretches here. If the knees are comfortable where they are, keep them where they are. And if you'd like to open them a little wider or walk them back for more stability, please do that too. Left hand will stay exactly where it is. We'll take the back of the right hand to the mat and let the fingers face the left hand. So we're putting a little bit of pressure on the back of that right hand. Maybe the arm comes towards straighten. Maybe most of your weight's on the left hand, or maybe for more sensation and more stretch, you start to bring that weight to the right hand. From here, we'll make a couple of fists super slowly with that right hand, curling all 5 fingers in towards one another, and then extending the fingers out long, pressing them down to the mat. We'll do that 2 more times, making a little fist. Maybe there's a little claw thing going on, trying to curl all 5 fingers in, and then release that fist, opening the fingers to the mat. 1 more time, super slow, curl all 5 fingers in. Maybe you go 1 at a time. And then slowly we'll release all 5 fingers down to the mat, flip the right palm to its original position, and we'll take that to the left side. So the back of the left hand will find the mat, fingers facing the right hand this time. Again, each hand will be different. So maybe you put more weight onto that right hand. Maybe for more of a stretch, you put some pressure onto that left wrist. So we'll start to curl all 5 of the left fingers in and then open it out wide. So one hand for me is completely different looking and feeling, and that's normal. We have a dominant and non-dominant hand. So we're just noticing, and again, sitting with that discomfort of maybe our fingers not wanting to curl, maybe needing to bend the elbow a little bit, and releasing. Take 3 on your own time. After your third, we'll let the left hand come back to its original position, and we'll find our tabletop. We'll gaze down maybe 2 inches past where the fingers are towards the top of the mat, pretending that someone's pulling your hips back like you're lassoed and someone's pulling your head forward. Our spine is beginning to grow, and we're finding that length that is required for twisting poses. From here, we'll find a couple of shoulder push-ups. We'll let the shoulders shrug down towards the ears. Let it feel a little bit crunchy. And then press the floor away to let the shoulders release away from the spine. We'll let the shoulders shrug towards the ears, almost letting the shoulders connect on the back, like you're squeezing something behind you. And then press the hands into the ground to let the shoulders release from one another. We'll take one more, just getting the feeling for the shoulders finding their way towards one another, and then releasing the shoulder blades away from the middle of the spine. We'll keep this length that we just created, embrace the core, drawing the belly button towards the spine, keeping a straightened back. Tuck the toes underneath you, spread the fingers wide so you see the color of your mat between every single finger. Shift the torso forward, maybe shoulders come over wrist by a centimeter. And we'll press into the fingers as we start to lift the knees slowly as we straighten the legs, drop the head, lift the hips into downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. We'll take lots of movement in our down dog, maybe bending deeply into one knee, gazing under the opposite armpit, and then bending deeply into the other knee, gazing under the opposite armpit. If it feels better to stay in stillness instead of moving your down dog, just let yourself stay. If down dog doesn't feel good at all for you right now, you can stay in tabletop instead. Wherever you are, let the heels start to get heavy, anchoring them down to the earth, and shake the head out, no, releasing any tension, just letting all 10 pounds of your head just relax, just rest. On our inhale, we'll shift forward to plank position, and we'll measure our downward dog. So adjust the hands and feet as much as needed, letting your torso and legs form a perfectly straight line, just like a stick. From here, resist the urge to walk your hands and feet closer. On your exhale, lift your hips to downward facing dog. This is the length of your down dog. You can always feel free to open the legs wider or shorten your stance, but this is your ideal length. From here, we'll keep the hands planted, keep the left foot planted, lift the right leg up towards the sky. We'll bend the knee, open the hip out to the right, and make big circles with that right leg. Again, if there's discomfort in a spot, maybe you stay with it. We're pressing equally into both hands instead of compensating with that left leg. Inhale to reach the right leg up to the sky. Exhale to gaze forward. We'll step the right knee into the middle of the mat. From here, we'll kickstand that right leg out to the side and plant the left foot down on the ground. Right hand will find midline right underneath the face. Left arm reaches up to the ceiling for your knee down side plank. We'll invite big circles into that left arm in one direction and big circles into the opposite direction, just juicing up the joint, taking note if the head is crunching in one way or the other, and letting your neck stand on its pedestal. We'll reach the left arm up to the ceiling, creating a wingspan from right to left, and we'll use the strength of the abdomen to lift the torso up right over right leg. Reach the left arm over the left leg, eventually dropping it down to the shin. Right arm reaches up to the sky. Our torso's in this bent position, a lateral bend. Maybe you take a couple of big circles with that right arm, continuing to open the heart towards the sky. And then reverse those circles, just opening both hip points in opposite directions, embracing that left leg. Reach the right arm high to the ceiling. We'll cartwheel the hands down to the ground, to the long end of your mat. We'll tuck the right toes behind us. And now we're in this tabletop position with the left leg extended. Always an option to bring the left knee in for your tabletop or keep the leg out for a little different of a shape. We'll start to bring some movement into this shape. Maybe cat-cows, maybe you wag the tail in one direction and then the other. And we're purposefully creating challenge for ourselves, something our body is not used to. So we can breathe and we can keep our intention in our mindset in this unusual position, in this asana, this challenge. Stay here in your tabletop position, maybe shifting your weight in different directions to explore sensation, or let the hips reach back towards the right heel for a one-legged child's pose. Maybe you create a surface for your forehead to rest on with a block or your hands, attempting to keep that left foot grounded on the earth. We'll bring ourselves back to our one-legged tabletop, and I want you to gaze at your left foot. We're going to practice something called Pada Bandha, the foot lock, pressing all 5 toes into the ground, and then releasing the toes off the earth. We'll do that twice more. We'll press all 5 toes onto the ground, and then release the toes from the earth. Press all 5 toes on the ground, gripping the earth, and then release the toes off the earth. We'll keep the toes off the earth if possible, and we'll scoot the foot inward just a couple of heel toes so we can get a good sense of how the foot is feeling. We're going to plant all 4 corners of the foot, 2 on the top and 2 on the bottom, into the ground. You might sense a little bit of action happening in the ankle and the heel. So we're pressing all 4 corners into the ground, embracing the ankle, and maybe you start to see the inner arch pop up off the earth. Maybe you see some of those tiny little foot muscles starting to work. So we'll relax the foot, just let it flop like a normal whatever, and then we'll plant the foot onto the earth once again, lift the toes off the ground, and try to lift that inner arch, embracing the ankle, using the strength of the foot to bring some intention and lift into the foot. So we are locking the foot into the earth, gripping with all 4 corners separately to create a foot lock, a bind, so we can stand tall and firm later in our standing poses. We'll relax the foot, let yourself come back to your typical tabletop position, and let the toes just find some relief here. We'll turn to the front of our mat, pressing the toes into the earth, tucking them under, shifting the shoulders just a little bit over the wrists, and we'll slowly start to lift the hips and straighten the legs to downward facing dog. From here, this time the right foot will stay just where it is. Left leg will reach high to the sky. Bend the knee, open the hip and knee out to the left. We'll take 2 big circles with the knee in one direction, and then 2 big circles in the other direction, pressing equally into both hands, trying not to compensate with one hand instead of the other. From here, we'll extend that left leg long to the ceiling, gaze forward, and step the left knee into the middle of the mat. Right leg continues to find its extension as we kickstand the left leg 90 degrees off the mat and plant the right foot onto the earth. Left hand finds its way to midline. Right arm reaches high to the ceiling, knee down, side plank. We'll take big circles with this top arm, reaching in one direction, finding that energy shooting all the way out of our fingers, and then reverse those circles, 2 or 3 slow big circles in the opposite direction. We'll find that wingspan all the way from the left wrist to the right. Embrace the core, keeping the right foot planted. Use the strength of your abdomen to lift the torso upright, arms to a T. Right arm reaches all the way over right leg, eventually dropping down to the right leg as the left arm reaches upward. Big circles in the wrists, in the shoulders, in any joint that might be asking for it. Checking in with the head, making sure we're not dozing off from one side or the other. Reverse those circles if you haven't already. And we'll find a nice opening of the left side body as we open the hips to the front and reach the left arm high. We'll take one more inhale to find space between both sets of fingers and drop the hands to the long end of the mat for our one-legged tabletop position. We're just finding organic movement here. So maybe we take some cat-cows, finding sensation in new parts of the body that our general cat-cow might not bring us. Maybe we shift the weight in one direction and then the other, just noticing anything that your hamstrings, that your wrists might be feeling. And each side is different, knowing that's okay. Can you be okay with any discomfort? Can you let the story that you might be creating just drown away back into the ocean instead of holding on to it and creating judgments? From here, we'll tuck the left toes, maybe reach the hips back to rest on the left heel, one-legged child's pose, maybe letting the forehead come down to a block or the mat, or the hands, connecting third eye center down. The space of intuition is grounded. You're breathing through that challenge, that discomfort. We'll plant the hands back on the earth, lift ourselves to our one-legged tabletop position, and we'll gaze at the right foot this time for our Pada Bandha practice. We'll heel toe the foot in just a little bit for some more stability. And we'll lift all 5 toes up and then plant them down, gripping the mat. Lift all 5 toes up as high as you can, spread them out, and then plant them back down on the ground. One more time, lift the toes up, and we'll leave them lifted this time. Pada Bandha is our foot lock. So we're locking all 4 corners of our foot to the ground as we try to squeeze the mat underneath us, trying to scrunch up the mat by locking all 4 corners so much. Maybe you start to sense that ankle strength turning on. Maybe you engage the foot, rolling to the outer edge of the foot as much as possible to see that inner arch start to lift. Relax the foot entirely, letting the toes come down to the ground. Maybe you wiggle them a little bit, and we'll try that 2 more times. We'll lift the toes off the earth, plant all 4 corners of the foot into the mat, and we'll turn on the ankle, trying to lift that inner arch to find stability, to find Pada Bandha, our foot lock. Release the foot just to the ground, let it shake itself out. And you might notice your foot is working here. And we'll just do that 1 more time. Lock all 4 corners of the foot to the earth. You can keep the toes down this time, or if it helps you to lift them off the earth, lift the toes and turn on the ankle. Sense those foot muscles, see those foot muscles working as the inner arch lifts. We'll keep our breath. Maybe your shoulders started to collect tension, and release it all, bringing the right knee to meet the left into tabletop position. And we'll walk ourselves back to the front of our mat. We'll pause in a child's pose for a moment. If you'd like a hip release, you can open the knees and let the torso come right between the legs towards the earth. And if you'd like more of the low back release, you can keep the knees to touch and lay the torso right on top of the legs. Always an option to bring blocks underneath the hips or bring a block underneath the chest or the forehead and just release the hands all the way to the ground. We'll let our intention start to flood back into our mindset. And in this introspective, inward turning child pose, balasana, can we bring our sense of creativity, of fun, of challenge, of childlike excitement into our practice? Instead of creating a story or getting too serious about judgments of our yoga practice, let's bring the intention of joyfulness, of creativity, of creating space in challenging positions into our practice. In your child's pose, ask yourself to imagine the sides of your body getting longer, the spine stretching out, the place at the bottom of your spine and the top of your spine just getting a little more elongated with every inhale. Maybe you start imagining the vertebrae spreading out just by a centimeter more every breath, like someone's taking your hips and your head and gently stretching them like taffy. Take one more inhale, finding length. Exhale, open the mouth, release the breath. We'll press up into a tabletop position. And if you do have blocks, we'll bring them to the top of our mat on their highest setting so we can use them in a bit. Plant the hands underneath the shoulders. Left knee comes to midline. We'll lift that right knee about hip height and bring a couple of big circles once again. We'll step the right foot all the way to the right side of the right hand and walk ourselves up into our first low lunge, left knee on the ground, deep bend into that right leg. As you inhale, reach the arms up overhead, arms in the shape of a V, pinkies facing one another. Inhale, drops the right hip to square the hips to the front of the mat. Exhale, releases the hips to the earth. Inhale, let the abdomen float away from the ground, maybe gaze up. Exhale, twist to the right. Left arm reaches forward, right arm reaches back, twisted low lunge. Inhale to spread the fingers long away from one another. Exhale, right arm reaches down and straight back up to a forward-facing lunge. Shift the hips back towards the heels and straighten the front leg. Maybe the toes reach up towards the face. As we inhale, we'll lift the chest. As we exhale, shoot the hips back and reach the chest towards the front of the mat. I like to take blocks underneath my hands here for Ardha Hanumanasana, our half splits, pretending like there's a little laser in your heart shooting forward instead of downward. Can you continue to lengthen the spine, reach the hips back, maybe even inviting a little back bend, just like your cow pose. Eventually, we'll let the chest drop towards the mat, inviting some sensation and stretch into that right hamstring. Left hand will stay right where it is on its block, and we'll open the right arm towards the ceiling. If you sense that right hip reaching up with you, ask it to drag down towards the mat, maybe feeling a big stretch in the IT band all the way on the side of the leg, from the hip all the way down the right leg. We're finding our twist in the middle back, twisting from the navel as we relax the right shoulder down, reaching the right arm alongside our wingspan. One more breath. Maybe you gaze at the right thumb for a balance challenge. Exhale to release the right hand to a block, ground the right toes and bend into the right knee. Tuck the left toes and lift the left leg off the ground. Left hand will find its way. Actually, we'll bring both hands to the top of the mat. Left hand stays where it is. Drop the left hip down to the earth, or not towards the earth, as you open the right arm to the sky. We're in our lifted, twisted lunge, finding strength in that right leg. As you inhale, reach the right arm high, strengthen the left leg. As you exhale, we'll take both hands down to either low blocks or the mat. Step the right foot back into plank position, finding strength in this plank, rolling forward onto our toes so heels are over toes. We'll take a vinyasa here. Inhale to lower the knees. Exhale to bend the elbows, lowering the chest and forehead all the way to the mat. Point the toes back behind you. Inhale to lift the head and chest, baby cobra. Exhale, forehead to the mat. We'll press ourselves up to a tabletop position. Inhale, find your belly drop for cow pose. Exhale, press into the hands, let the spine arch up for cat. We'll find a neutral tabletop once again. Right knee will stay where it is. Lift the left knee about hip height, and we'll take a couple of circles just to open the hip, juice up the joint, let it know some movement is coming. We'll step the right foot all the way to the outside of the left foot and crawl ourselves up to that left knee for our low lunge. Bend the left knee as we lower the hips towards the ground. On your inhale, open the arms into that V shape, creating a long neck and a long spine. Inhale to let the torso rise. Exhale to twist to the left. Right arm reaches forward, left arm reaches back. Our wingspan is growing, shoulders are relaxed, bending into that left knee as we release the hips towards the earth. Embrace the core and find that twist from the navel, from the belly button. One more inhale to spread from collarbones to fingertips. Release the left arm down, reach it all the way up, letting the torso face forward. We'll shift the hips to the back, straightening that front leg, maybe grabbing for those high blocks on your way. Left toes can choose to flex towards the face. And once again, the hips pull back as the chest reaches forward. Maybe you invite a little bit of a back bend for your cow, and then slowly release the heart to the front of the room instead of facing downward. You can use these blocks for some support here. And we'll ask the left hip to pull back to find square with the right. Maybe you just got nice sensation here in the left hamstring. Right hand will stay where it is on the block, and we'll twist from the middle of the body, lifting the left arm to the ceiling. As you inhale, open the chest, release the wingspan in opposite directions, relax the shoulder. Embrace the core, pull the left hip 1 inch back. Maybe you find some nice stretch and sensation all the way down the left leg. One more inhale, maybe you look at the left thumb. On your exhale, bend the left knee, walk your blocks to the top of the mat. We'll tuck the right toes and lift the knee off the ground. We'll pull the hips down to the earth, strengthening that back leg. Right hand stays on the block as the left arm reaches up into our twisted lunge. Maybe you challenge yourself, instead of letting the belly fall to the legs, to create space, lifting with the legs, and then releasing, bending the left knee, dropping the hips towards the ground. One more inhale to twist open. Exhale to release the hands either to low blocks or the mat, stepping the left foot back into plank. Take your full strengthening inhale for plank position. Maybe you lower the knees or don't. Exhale, forehead and chest all the way down. Untuck the toes on your inhale, baby cobra. Maybe you straighten the arms to king cobra. Exhale to release to the earth. Take an inhale to strengthen the torso and the legs. Exhale, press up to tabletop or plank pose. Wherever you are, take an inhale to prepare. Exhale, let the hips rise, the legs straighten, the hands plant into downward facing dog. Inhale to lift the heels high. Exhale, keep the heels lifted, bend the knees, let the chest drop. Take tiny little steps or hop, jump up to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift, maybe the hands come to blocks. Exhale, fold over yourself, Uttanasana, forward fold. Bend the knees, plant the feet. Inhale to reach the torso all the way upright, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, palms at heart center, Tadasana. We'll find that equal standing on both feet here. Taking a full inhale to ground all four corners and a full exhale to release the shoulders away from the ears. We'll inhale, reach the arms all the way up overhead. Exhale, hinge at the hips, folding over yourself, Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, keeping those feet planted. Exhale, bring the hands to the blocks, fold over yourself. Inhale, we'll find that half lift again, letting the head reach forward. The hips are reaching back. We'll keep the right foot planted, step the left foot all the way back to your high lunge. As you inhale, trust your legs, reach the arms up overhead, deep bend into that right knee. Take your inhale, lift the fingers. Exhale, twist to the right. Left arm reaches forward, right arm reaches back into our twist. Inhale to shift the weight forward, left heel over left toe. Exhale, twist from the mid back. Inhale, right arm reaches down all the way to straighten, torso is forward. Exhale, left heel finds the earth, open the hips towards me. Ground the left toes on the earth, bend into that right knee, relax the shoulders, Virabhadrasana 2, warrior 2. Gaze past right middle finger. Inhale, flip the right palm, reach forward. Exhale, paint the sky as you radiate your warrior, peaceful warrior. Inhale to reach the right fingers long. Exhale, straighten the front leg, reverse triangle. Inhale to use your abdomen, arms to a T, straighten the torso, shift the hips all the way to the left, reach the torso forward, reach the arm forward. Eventually, we'll drop that hand to the leg, to the block, maybe the ground, and invite that left arm all the way to the sky. Hips are reaching in the opposite direction as the head, and we're finding that wingspan again. Energy all the way from the right wrist to the left fingertip. Maybe we find that bind, letting the elbow bend, snuggling the fingers into the right hip crease to open the chest, twisting with the torso, opening the hips towards the long end of your mat. If you found that bind, we'll release the arm to the ceiling and we'll start to close the left arm towards the ground. We'll take our high blocks, one underneath each hand, and heel toe the right foot all the way to the right. Step the left foot all the way to the left, maybe even off your mat. Toes are facing generally forward, but left toes might find a 45-degree angle or face directly forward. We'll take our right hip and scoot it back to be square with the left. We'll find pyramid pose. Inhale, let the torso rise, maybe even find a cow. Exhale, release the chest down over that right leg. We'll stay for a full breath, maybe challenging yourself by floating the fingers, letting the neck stay long on its perfect pedestal. And from here, we'll find a supported warrior three. Heel toeing the right foot to midline, finding a nice bend in that right knee so we can bring all of our weight into the right foot. We'll lift the right toes off the earth and try to scrunch the mat by planting all four corners of the right foot into the ground for our pada bandha. You can release the toes down if you'd like, or if it helps to keep them up, keep them lifted. And we'll walk our blocks all the way to the top of our mat, a little bit off of our mat. Left toes will start to get light. Maybe they stay kickstanded on the mat, or maybe left foot flexes, lifting it hip height. We'll try to create a straight line all the way from the head to the heel. If the leg is staying low, no worries, but we'll try to use the strength of the glute to lift the heel hip height, letting the chest stay proud. You can keep a nice bend in that right knee or begin to straighten it, gazing down at right toes. Give them a little wiggle to relax. One more inhale to let the torso stay strong, embrace the core. Exhale, release the left leg to the back of the mat. Inhale to trust your legs, reach the arms up right into your high lunge. Exhale, we'll find a flow, your version of your vinyasa. Hands plant, step back to plank position. Inhale to find your strong plank. Exhale to bend the elbows any amount, chaturanga. Inhale, maybe baby cobra, maybe king cobra, maybe you press into the hands, lift the legs, upward facing dog. Exhale your way, finds yourself in downward facing dog. We'll take 2 breaths in our downward facing dog, preparing for the opposite side here. Always being able to come down to a tabletop or child's pose, if that's what our body's asking for. And we'll start to flow, bringing the right foot to midline, bringing the left foot to meet it. Inhale to lift the heels high. Exhale, bend the knees, keep the heels lifted. Bottom of the exhale, step, hop, jump, step up to the top of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift, let the spine grow. Exhale, fold over yourself, Uttanasana. Bend the knees, plant the feet, reach all the way up, straightening the torso, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, palms at heart center, Samastitihi, equal standing. Take one full inhale, connecting the thumbs to the sternum. Exhale, releasing the shoulders away from the ears. Inhale to reach the arms out to the side, up and over the head, maybe a gentle lean back. Exhale, hinge over yourself, Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, let the spine grow. Exhale, fold over yourself, bring your hands to those high blocks. Inhale, halfway lift once again. This time, the left foot stays planted, right foot finds its way all the way at the back of the mat. Bend into that left knee, trust the legs to lift the torso, reaching the arms into that high V, high lunge, Anjaneyasana. Inhale to spread the chest, reach the fingers. Exhale, twist to the left. Right arm reaches forward, left arm reaches back. We'll tilt our weight forward to bring the back heel over the toe. Woo, deep bend in that left knee for a balance challenge. As you inhale, spread from the collarbones to the fingers. Exhale to settle the hips towards the mat. Left arm reaches down, straighten the torso, lift both arms to the ceiling. We'll drop the right heel, open the hips out to the long end of the mat. Arms reach over both legs. Deep bend in that left knee, ground the right pinky toe. Spread the arms wide, relax the shoulders. Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. Inhale to flip the left palm, reach all the way forward. Stay bent in that front knee, radiate back, peaceful warrior. Inhale to reach the left fingers back. Exhale, straighten front leg, reverse triangle. Use the abdomen to lift the torso upright, arms to a T. Option to heel toe that back foot in, scoot the hips out to the right like a sassy hip. Left arm reaches over the leg, eventually dropping that hand down to a block or the earth or your leg as the right arm reaches long. Hips and head reaching in opposite direction, hip points opening towards the ceiling. Right arm can reach directly up for that wingspan, or maybe you flip the palm, bend the elbow, and snuggle the fingers into the left hip crease. As you inhale, open the chest, finding a little twisting action. Exhale to settle the feet into the ground, staying strong in the legs. If you find yourself hyperextending, just give yourself a little bend in the knee to bring some strength into the quad. Release that right arm. If you bound it, maybe gaze up. Exhale, releasing the hands to your blocks, one on each side on their highest setting. Heel toe left foot all the way to the left. And we'll step the right foot all the way to the right, maybe even off the mat. Again, 45-degree angles in the toes or facing forward, whatever feels best. Feel free to shorten this stance if it helps you bring the left hip in line with right. So if your hip points were little lights, they'd be headlights facing forward. Inhale to lift the torso halfway. Maybe you find a little cow action, sticking the tailbone up. Eventually folding over yourself for your pyramid pose. Maybe you give the left toes a little wiggle so you're not holding tension. Feeling free to explore this pose in any ways that feel good, continuing to pull the left hip back, continuing to reach the head forward, continuing to pour weight away from the hands, maybe wiggling the fingers and lifting them for a little balance challenge. We'll start to make our way to supported warrior 3, heel toeing the left foot to midline, walking the blocks all the way forward to the top of the mat. Right toes start to get light, and we'll stand into that left leg like a tree trunk. Maybe right toes stay, or give them a flex and lift them hip height. Supported warrior 3. A generous bend in that left knee is absolutely okay, but we're still standing into the leg, trying to grow the left leg tall. Kicking the right heel back like you're kicking someone behind you, and reaching the head forward like you're trying to grow the spine. One more inhale to emphasize that length between head and heel. Exhale to stay embracing the core. We'll slowly start to bend the left knee, planting the right foot as far back as you can get it, and then trusting the leg to stand into our high lunge, Anjane Asana. Inhale, lets the abdomen float, lets the fingers reach. Exhale, pour the hands towards the front of the mat. Step the left foot into plank position. Finding your flow, or maybe going to downward facing dog. Let your body take you through your vinyasa. We'll all meet in downward facing dog, always knowing you can come down to the knees for a child's pose for a little bit of rest. In your downward facing dog, take 2 breaths, letting yourself sigh on the exhale, releasing any heat you want out of your body, and letting yourself feel powerful, fulfilled, preparing for some balancing and twisting poses. Inhale, lets the heels lift high. Exhale, bend the knees, gaze forward. Make it to the top of your mat however you'd like. Inhale, halfway lift, spine grows. Exhale, fold over yourself. Bend the knees, plant the feet. Inhale, reach the arms all the way up, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, palms at heart center, Tadasana, Samastitihi. We'll start to pour our weight into our right foot for our standing warrior three. You can always take those hands back to the block for more supportive warrior three. We'll bend the left knee, letting the heel kick the glute, and slowly letting the chest descend towards parallel with the earth. Left leg reaches back behind you, creating a stick, a straight line between the neck, spine, and leg. The leg will lift only as high as the torso goes low to find our warrior three. Keeping the hands where they are, maybe reaching the arms out long or reaching them over the ears. Find power in this balancing pose. One more inhale to reach the head and heels in opposite direction. Exhale to drop the left foot to the left side of the mat. We'll set up for our pyramid pose again. Heel toeing the right foot all the way to the right, left toe is facing forward. This time, we'll keep the hands away from the blocks. As we inhale, we'll swim the arms back. As we exhale, we'll fold over ourselves, finding some sensation in that right hamstring. We'll inhale to reach the head forward. Exhale to release the head towards the ground. We'll take our right hand to the left side block. We'll maybe scoot it a couple inches closer, but it'll stay where our left foot would be. As we inhale, twist from the mid-spine, keeping the left hand on the low back. So we're in this twisted Trikonasana pose, checking in with our body, maybe heel toeing that back foot to any more comfortable position, continuing to pull the right hip back to straighten the hips. Maybe you'd like to gaze up at the ceiling. Maybe you reach the left arm along to the sky, twisting from the navel, controlling the abdomen, reaching the hips back. One more inhale to reach the arm high. As we exhale, we'll stay where we are, just bend that right knee. We'll start to come towards a twisted warrior three. Bringing that left hand back to the mid back, like you're putting it in your back pocket. We'll gaze down at the floor, put all of our weight into that right leg, walk the left block with the right hand underneath it, all the way to the top left of the mat. Slowly, that left toe gets super light. Maybe you extend it about hip height, opening the chest towards the left. Big balance challenge here, twisting in our warrior three. Maybe you press the heel longer towards the back of the room, embrace the core, and continue to twist. Option to reach that left arm up towards the ceiling, letting the head face whatever direction is comfortable. One more inhale, reach everything in opposite directions. As you exhale, slowly bend the right knee. Let the left foot find the earth. We'll reach into our high lunge just to wash it away. Exhale, planting the hands, feeling free to take a vinyasa, maybe finding a one-legged vinyasa by keeping the right foot lifted. As you inhale for plank, exhale chaturanga. Inhale for your heart opener, drop that right leg. Exhale, reach the hips up into downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. One more final standing side before we come down to the mat. Inhale to lift the heels. Exhale to bend the knees, gaze forward. Bottom of the exhale, step, hop, or jump up to the top of the mat. Forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway lift, spine is long. Exhale, fold it over yourself. Bend the knees, plant the hands, reach the torso and the arms up overhead, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, palms at heart center, Samastitihi, Tadasana. This time, left foot stays planted, pouring all of our weight into our left foot. Bend the right knee, try to find the heel towards the glute. We'll slowly start to kick that right foot back as that left foot stays grounded, just like a tree trunk. Torso descends down towards parallel as we straighten that right leg into warrior three, Virabhadrasana 3. Inhale to drop the torso, lift the leg. Exhale to find a length in the body from the head to the heel. One more inhale to find that length, find that strength. Exhale, we'll lower right hand or right foot down to the right side of the mat. We'll straighten both legs, stand up straight, pull the right hip forward, left hip back to straighten the hips. Swim the arms back for our pyramid pose. Slowly descending the torso down towards the mat to bring some sensation into that left hamstring. As you inhale, plant the feet. As you exhale, fold over yourself. We'll come to our twisted trikonasana, taking our right hand all the way to the left block, planting it down. As you inhale, we'll open the left arm to the ceiling, pulling that left hip back. Take your inhale to open the chest, finding length, finding space, twisting from the mid-back. If the head is finding its way in either direction, maybe check in and find your head on that perfect pedestal. You can bring that hand to that back pocket to invite a little bit more of a twist without worrying about the shoulder. And we'll take one more breath here as we prepare for our twisted warrior three from our twisted trikonasana. Keeping the hand in our back pocket, we'll bend into that left knee and walk the block all the way to the top of the mat. We'll start to let the right toes get light, extending at hip height off the earth, trying to open the chest, twisting. Ooh, a little rocky over here. Continuing to spread the head and the heel in opposite directions. Can you open the chest out to the left? One more inhale to open yourself. Exhale to plant the foot onto the earth, and we'll find that high lunge. Inhale to trust the legs, reaching the arms overhead. Exhale to plant the hands onto the earth, maybe finding a one-legged plank. Left leg stays lifted this time. Inhale to find strength. Exhale to bend the elbows, chaturanga. Inhale, lower left leg, find your back bend. Exhale, lift the hips from the abdomen, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. From here, we'll lower the knees to the ground, letting the chest and the forehead find the earth underneath you. Finding a child's pose for a few breaths here. Letting any sighs out, letting any heat out of the body that would like to escape. Maybe rocking the forehead side to side for a little forehead massage. From child's pose, we'll walk the hands all the way to the right off the mat, interlacing left hand on top of right. Energetically, right hand will press away from you as left arm pulls towards you to open that space in the left side body, underneath the shoulder, around the armpit, continuing to ground the left hip into the left heel. Take one more breath. Release into the earth. We'll walk our hands through center and go slow. No need to rush here. We're slowing things down. Walk the hands all the way to the left side of the mat, interlacing right hand on top of left, grounding the right heel as left arm presses away from you, right arm pulls towards you, opening that space underneath the shoulder of the right side, Giving yourself a little breath in that shoulder, in the side bodies. One more inhale. Press the hand away from the body. Exhale to settle, releasing yourself and your efforts. Walk the hands back towards center. And we'll find ourselves through a tabletop position right onto our belly for a couple of back bends and back strengtheners. We'll start by just letting ourselves take a moment in Advasana or Anti-Shavasana, maybe making a pillow with your hands for your forehead or one cheek to the mat. Wag the hips side to side. Maybe you flop the toes down, letting the bottoms of the feet connect. Taking a full inhale and a full exhale, a little body scan. We'll start with Sphinx position, letting the elbows prop ourselves up underneath the shoulders, forearms in the shape of an 11, fingers spread wide so you can see the mat between each fingers. We'll let the arms just shrug down again like our shoulder push-ups, and then we'll press the neck into its elongated stance to reach the crown of the head upward. Feet are about hips distance, toes are reaching back behind you. We'll find some opposition in Sphinx here. As our toes reach back, our heart reaches forward. As our elbows reach down, the crown of our head reaches up. As our elbows find traction and reach back, our chest tries to scoot between the forearms to reach forward. There's a lot of different lines of energy happening in Sphinx. So can you let yourself find that balance of ease and effort, of work and relaxation, finding a release in one part of your body that you know needs it, whether it's the jaw, the toes. Take one more breath. Reach the chest forward and the toes back. As you exhale, spread the elbows out wide. Make that little pillow again, or bring opposite cheek to the mat. We'll find one more back strengthener of Shalabhasana. Letting the arms reach back alongside the sides of the body, palms facing down. Toes can be hip height, or maybe zip them up for a little added challenge if that feels okay on your back. We'll inhale, embracing the core, squeezing the glutes and the thighs. Exhale, lift the head and chest, just like a baby cobra. But maybe you start to lift the torso upright. Maybe you float the fingers behind you, or use the fingers to crawl the chest higher. One more inhale, point the toes back, reach the chest forward like a cobra. Exhale to release the self all the way down to the mat. We'll take one more of those, this time with an option to lift the feet as well. Let ourselves settle for a moment. Maybe the chin is on the earth. As you inhale, embrace the core, strengthen the glutes and the quads. Exhale, lift the head and the chest. Maybe lift the feet. Maybe you try to zip them up close together, letting the hands interlace behind the back or reaching in opposite directions. Pull the chest forward, lift the toes high. Take one more inhale to lift and strengthen the back. Exhale to release the body down to the earth. Make that little pillow again. Bend both knees so the toes face the ceiling, and we'll rock them side to windshield wiper them. For our counter pose, we'll take child's. pressing into our arms or into our hands with the strength of our arms, releasing the hips towards the heels. Just for one moment, we'll release the forehead down, maybe give it a little rock onto the earth to massage that third eye center. And we'll come to seated, however feels natural for you, whatever feels like a good way to find yourself to sit on the glutes. We'll extend both legs long out and we'll separate them a good amount. Whatever feels natural, a lot or a little, and we'll take our blocks in case we'd like to use them. We'll rock side to side to find those sit bones, and you can really get intimate with yourself and feel them underneath you. But we want those bones, those sticky out bones in our body to point directly down. So maybe you sense yourself arching in either direction, and we'll try to sit straight as if our spine was the axis of the universe, straight up and down. As we inhale, we'll lift the arms overhead. As we exhale, we'll hinge at the hips just slightly and reach this heavy platter out in front of us. Inhale, we'll keep hinging the hips. Exhale, we'll keep reaching that platter. Eventually, and if you'd like this active pose, you can stay here for 5 breaths. Otherwise, we'll release the hands down to the earth. Make a little structure, stack as many blocks as you'd like on top of one another. I get another block. And release the forehead down to the blocks. Upavista Konasana, wide-legged forward folds. We'll be here for 5 breaths. This challenging, compromising position lets us find breath, lets us tune into that intention, reminds us that when we approach challenges off the mat, we can sit with it, we can breathe through it, we can find space in a seemingly constrained situation. Take 2 more breaths. And slowly we'll press into the hands, crawl the torso upright. We'll release both blocks to either side of our mat and wiggle the legs back together. We'll plant the feet onto the earth and we'll find boat pose, just a little bit of action before we rest and find that constructive rest. We'll start to lean the torso back. Maybe the toes stay on the earth. Maybe the heels pop up and the toes find the earth. Maybe one leg finds the shin parallel to the ground, and then you switch. Or maybe both shins find parallel to the ground, finding strength and an open chest in this boat pose, Navasana. One more inhale. Maybe you start to straighten the legs. As you exhale, we'll release the back all the way to the earth. Pause for a moment, bringing the hands to the belly or maybe the heart, and we'll walk the feet to the mat so the knees are pointing upward. We'll find a bridge pose once again, planting the hands onto the earth, walking the feet towards the glutes as much as they want or don't want. I don't think mine want to today. As we inhale, we'll roll the shoulders back and down to find the neck not touching the mat anymore. Press into the heels, the hands, and the backs of the shoulders to lift the hips. Option to stay here, or maybe you grab either side of the mat and try to rip the mat apart, maybe letting the chest reach an inch higher than you normally would. Inhale to let the neck grow. exhale to press the hips towards the ceiling. Slowly release the back and the hips back to the earth and hug the knees into the chest. Give yourself a little rock back and forth. And we'll plant the feet back on the mat for a moment, taking our block in our hand to set up for our inversion, lifting the hips just a couple of inches to slide a block on its lowest setting underneath the sacrum. You can always put another block underneath if you'd like some more height. We'll release the right leg up, just like we did in our warm-up, stepping on the sky, and then release the left leg up to join the right. Maybe the arms stay connected with the body here. Maybe the arms reach out like wings. And Supta Viparita Karani, legs up the wall. Even though we don't have a real wall that our legs are up against, you can always feel free to go up against a real wall, sitting the hips close to the wall, and then rolling onto the back as you let the legs climb up. We'll give yourself just 5 deep, nourishing breaths in this inversion as we bring circulation to the upper body. We start to slow the heart rate, bringing fresh nutrients, fresh oxygen to various parts of our body that might not always get the most attention if we're sitting or standing the majority of the day. If you would like to stay here for your final rest, your final Shavasana, please do. Otherwise, we'll release the feet down to the earth, lift the hips enough just to slide the block out from underneath you, and let the hips find the ground once again. Pull the knees into the chest to give yourself a little hug. And we'll open the shins once again to find that pose that we found in the beginning of our practice. We're taking a little mental scan, a little note of how our body has changed in the past 90 minutes. Inviting happy baby, pressing the hands on the outsides of the feet, if that's in your practice. Taking any variation your body wants, maybe rocking side to side, straightening one leg at a time, or maybe both. Letting your body start to guide you for your final 4 breaths before Shavasana. If your body would like to take any other poses, please let yourself guide yourself there. Otherwise, we'll start to get comfy and lay down on the back, spreading the legs out wide to create space between the thighs, reaching the arms out long like wings to create space between the armpits. I like to press my head down and release my shoulders away from the ears to create more length in the neck. Rock the head to the right, rock the head to the left, and then find center. We'll let the toes rock in and then out, and then find where they want to stay. Find where they want to land. Make a fist with both hands. Spread the fingers out wide like a sunshine, and then let the fingers come to their natural curl. Let yourself be 10% more comfortable by fidgeting and moving in any way that you feel truly settled. You feel true relaxation and the ability to be still. Once we find that stillness, we'll ask our body to stay a while, to integrate our movement, our energy, our work into a constructive rest, into corpse pose, the last part of our yogic life cycle in this practice together today. Take one slow, sweet inhale from the nostrils and hold it at the top. Sip in a little bit more air, pulling up entirely. And we'll open the mouth and slowly, as you can, let that air sigh out of the body. Let the body rest. Let yourself be held. I'll bring you back in a couple of moments and enjoy your Shavasana. Start to bring intention back into the physical body. by inviting any movements you'd like, big or small. Let's bring intention to the breath body by inviting a deep inhale, followed by an audible exhale at the mouth. Notice the quality of the breath. Notice any sensations or any messages from your body. If you'd like to end your practice lying in Shavasana, please do. Otherwise, invite both knees into the chest and roll to your preferred side in this moment. Make a pillow with your arm underneath your head and bring the opposite hand to the chest. Bring your gaze to that third eye center, that space between the eyebrows, and give yourself a genuine compliment. Repeat it to yourself 3 times with the same power and confidence that you used for your intention. Lock that compliment in for later when we find a story or judgment to attach to ourselves. Use the strength of your arms and press yourself up to an easy seat, keeping the eyes either relaxed or closed on your way up. Bring the palms to Anjali Mudra, prayer mudra in the center of the heart, gently pressing the thumbs into the sternum and gently pressing all finger pads against one another, leaving a little bit of space between the palms. Roll the shoulders back and down. Let the head grow just a centimeter higher towards the ceiling. We'll take 3 belly breaths together. Inhaling through the belly, rising up to the rib cage and the chest. Release from the chest, the rib cage, and the belly. Inhale, belly, rib cage, chest. Exhale, chest, rib cage, and belly. One more time. Inhale, belly, rib cage, chest. Exhale, chest, rib cage, and belly. And back to your normal breath, noticing the quality of the inhale and the exhale. Draw the thumbs to third eye center as a reminder to live in clear, loving thought. Draw the prayer to the lips as a reminder to live in clear, loving communication. And draw the prayer back to the heart as a reminder to live in clear, loving action. Bow to yourself as a gesture of self-reverence, of self-gratitude to the teacher inside of you, guiding yourself. Thank you for joining me and trusting me to guide you through yoga. See you soon.